but it wasn't enough. You know, the coaches still didn't trust me. I wasn't still able to make a spot. The secret that's got me to where I'm at, certainly. And that first year just didn't really go the way I would have loved for it to go. You know, I had been used to playing and being the guy on all my divisional teams. And I think I started to forget that hard work was like kind of the secret, you know.
Photographer of the year. Let's hear it for Dan Shelley, Shellda Photos.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Shellda Podcast, where, man, I've got one of the most feared people in the league lately. I've got Scott Stewart of Paintball Fit, co-owner of Welts. I mean, your resume is just growing and growing and growing. How are you, my man?
Doing great, man. Doing great. Excited to be on here and chat with you about some paintball stuff and some not so closely related to paintball stuff. I love it. Love it. Super excited. Thanks for having me.
For sure. And you know, I think the theme of this episode, without even asking you the questions already, I think it's going to be hard work and what that really means. Because I think every time I've talked to you or I've heard from you or I've listened to some conversations, like that word work keeps coming up. And, you know, preparing for this episode, I don't know if a lot of people realize like how much work it takes to like run a podcast and like, you know, get guests on and whatnot. And always you're working on always the next one. Right. And, when I was going back and forth with you on having you come on, you're like, hey, like I've got two options. We can do it at 5 p.m. or 5 a.m. And I'm like, holy shit, man, this guy, like, he just never stops working.
Yes, indeed. You know, you got to be flexible. You know, when you're trying to do stuff that you've never done before, you got to be willing to make sacrifices or make changes that you might not be really comfortable with. But you know that, you know, it's going to be something you got to get out of your comfort zone and be willing to take some chances, try some things. Maybe we tried it at 5:30 in the morning and it wouldn't have worked. You know, maybe we were both super tired and we start for like 5 minutes and we're like, no, we can't even do this anyways. This isn't going to be what we want it to be. And then we would have had to reschedule anyway. So,
yeah, I mean, just having that mindset though, like when you asked me, my first thought was like, hell no, that's way too early. And then after I responded to you, like I sat there, I'm like, man, what am I doing? You know, I take in a lot of content from, you know, like CEOs and like other successful business people. And you always hear that like grind mentality and you wake up early before everyone else does. And it just made me think of you in that moment of like, holy cow, you proactively said, hey, I'll do this in the morning if you want to. And that just goes to show you in your work ethic, right? And that's something I'm super excited to get into in this episode, because I think so many players resonate with you and your story. And I think we hear that so much in the sport of like, you know, hey, just work hard and like just put in your time. But I think there's more to that. And that's what I'm excited for you to like help us kind of break that down.
Totally.
So let's jump into, I want to start off with this year. So this year obviously has been just a crazy wild ride for you, you know, going into Tampa. You know, obviously a legendary place for paintball. We haven't been there in, you know, a decade or two. I think coming off the success of World Cup for you specifically and for Paintball Fit, I think you are a fan favorite. And then to have Colt go down with that injury, I heard it, right? Like it was like a sea of conversation just took over the event of like, have you heard? Did you hear this? Have you seen the video of it? What was that like for you going through that, you know, one, seeing Colt go down, and then how does your mind shift change going into that event?
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely a huge moment for sure, and not in a good way for Paintball Fit, where, you know, you see kind of our leader and the captain kind of go down on the field in the middle of making probably another really good move in a practice, you know, one that he doesn't necessarily need to make. He could hand it in the middle of a practice and be like, it's a bad situation. Like, let's just blow the towel on this point or whatever, right? And kind of give it in. But that's how he's always played, and how kind of all of us always play, is 100% and giving all the effort. So when he went down, for me, it was just focusing on the next step, which is like, how are we going to step up without him? You know, I knew that we had a very, very, very good team, very talented team, top to bottom. Even the guys that still don't get a lot of play time today are still very good players that I think would be playing on most of these pro rosters. Yeah. So I knew we had a good squad, and I was really confident we could still be extremely competitive. How good exactly we would do and how everyone would respond is kind of what the question was. But I was ready to just do exactly my job and do it to perfection. Where sometimes with Colt, maybe you get a little bit of room for error because he's so good, he might be able to help make up for some of those mistakes.
Yeah.
Without Colt, it was like, all right, let's just all do our job and make sure we're doing every part of our job to perfection. And we know, if everyone's doing that, everything will work out in the end.
Yeah, that's when that happened. My first thought went to, I think it was it last season? I think with Aaron Rodgers in the Jets, was like the first play of the game or whatever with his new team. Like he went down and tore his ACL, I'm pretty sure. And you just saw like the stadium went quiet, everyone went quiet. They went on to have a pretty not great season, and to see you and the rest of the team just rally behind and like just trudge forward of like, hey, we're still doing this, was such an incredible moment, I think, for the sport to see what it truly means to like have teammates that believe in each other. I want to push you a little bit on that because I think I hear a lot of divisional teams like say, hey, we've got to work, like we just got to like show up and do our jobs. What's the difference though between divisional and what you guys do at your level when you have something like that happens?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's about doing all the little things is really what the big differences are, right? Like everybody knows to go to their spots and maybe call what they see or to, not over engage in a gunfight or something like that. But it's about doing the little intangible things maybe in between those steps of, whether it's before the point, mentioning something in the pit of like, hey, I saw this, or it looks like they might be doing this on the box. I think we can expose that. Or, hey, like I noticed this right on the box. You're talking about, hey, they're lining up an extra guy this way, or that guy looks like he's going to shoot our way this time, or those little changes, and just making sure to really pay attention to all the details, whether it is in the middle of a point, during the point, after the point, between points. It's about picking up on all those little things that maybe somebody else was doing a lot of the time. Maybe Colt was doing it. Maybe someone else on the sideline was doing it, but they're now focused on something that Colt was spending more time on. So they can't focus on those things. But everyone just needs to do their job. Because if you start to try and do too much and do more than what you should, then you're just overextending yourself. And now you're taking yourself out of what you might do best. If I decided I was going to sit back in that event and try and be the communicator that Colt normally is, we wouldn't have had the success we did, right? Like I had to be the regular me and do my regular job and allow everyone else to continue to step up and just do their jobs to perfection. I think that's kind of what the difference is between what most divisional teams do, where they kind of try and overdo or overcompensate for what they feel like they're missing or where they feel like their weaknesses are. They try and focus too much on shoring up the weaknesses rather than just doing what they do to perfection. And that's kind of where you're finding that gap, I feel like, in what you want to do and what you're actually doing, or kind of what you need to do and what you're actually doing.
Before we go any deeper into this podcast with Scott Stewart, which I can promise you is going to be an absolutely incredible one, I've got to give a huge shout out to my show sponsors. First and foremost, Hormesis. These guys have been with me since day one of the podcast, and their spring and summer collection has been absolute fire. And on top of that, they just dropped some new handmade shirts straight from Bali. So head over to their website and grab them while you can. And speaking of Scott Stewart and Paintball Fit, I've got to give a huge shout out to my next show sponsor, BFPgear.com. The great thing about BFPgear.com is if you actually go to their website and type in Paintball Fit, this is a hidden gem about BFPgear.com. They actually have a JT stretchy soft shirt that is from Paintball Fit. So if you want to show your support to Scott Stewart, Paintball Fit, and of course BFPgear.com, grab these while you can, because man, they are running low on supplies, and of course they're on sale, $17.50. You can't beat that. And last but not least, I've got to give a huge shout out to Pro DNA. I had this thought recently. Their new backpack that they dropped this season is absolutely perfect for kids going back to school. So whether you're a kid going back to school, a college student, or if you've got a job and you're rocking your backpack to and back and forth from the office, head over to bfpgear.com, grab the new Pro DNA backpack because it is absolutely perfect. Okay, back to the episode. Yeah, that sounds so similar. I don't know if you have ever done any research, like looked into the Patriots, like with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick and whatnot, like just do your job mentality.
Yeah.
Those three simple words, do your job, they could be really simple, but I think you just explained it very well. Is it takes a lot of like a selflessness look in the mirror of, hey, I need to know where I'm weak and where I'm strong at, and like just focus on that. And I think That's gold right there. Exactly what you said is I think a lot of divisional players, they are looking at like, okay, what's my weakness or my insecurity and how can I overcompensate for that? And then when you do that, you get so far away from your talents as a person.
Correct. Totally.
Yeah. One of the things that, I was thinking about going into the show too is one of my best friends, Joel Hoffman. I think, you may have played with him at some point at Fit. He plays for Austin Assault. And I think he played for an event with Beefy at some point. He's kind of got that same mentality as you, where like he just works every day, no matter what. Like he puts in the hours, puts in the time, and he grinds. And I've always gone like a battle of wanting to get in shape, and I'll have this crazy motivation and like I'll stop. And I asked him, I was like, hey, how do you do it? Like, how do you show up every day? And he was like, I just do. There's no other option.
Yes.
Was that a switch for you at some point? Or has that always been your mentality, is like just work?
I think a little bit of both. There was definitely a certain level of work ethic instilled by my parents, or instilled in me by my parents. My dad was always extremely about working hard. When I was in high school, I was playing football, and I remember him telling me, if you want to stand out, like, you just need to be the first one to volunteer for everything. It doesn't matter what the drill is or what they say. As soon as your coach says we need to volunteer, like, you raise your hand, you do whatever they're needing. You're the first one to try and do it. You try and be the first one to finish any drills, like conditioning drills. You should try and be first. And if you can't be first, just make sure you're giving all the effort that you can. And so that idea of just working hard and that being what's going to separate you was always instilled in me. But I think, as with anybody, as you're going through life, you're learning from new sources, right? Like when you're young, you're obviously learning more from your parents. As you get older, you start to learn from peers and even just whoever's influenced you. Maybe you're watching MTV when I was a kid, right? Was a bigger thing then. And so whatever TV shows you're watching, all that stuff, you don't even realize it's influencing you. And I think I started to forget that hard work was like kind of the secret, that hard work is all it really took. And if you're willing to just keep working hard, and obviously in an intelligent fashion, right? Like, you have to be thinking about why you're working hard and what you're trying to do and how that works towards whatever your goals are.
Yeah.
But that idea of working hard kind of got lost for a little bit. And then when I was in a hard relationship at one point, I kind of found this other person, Andy Frisella, online, who's an entrepreneur. And he was running a podcast that really just spoke to me. It was called the MFCEO Project. And he just talked about how hard work was the answer, and how it's going to be difficult. It's supposed to be difficult. And that's just part of the process. And like, if it's not hard, that probably means you're not doing something meaningful. And so that kind of reinforced all the hard work that I had remembered and kind of been instilled in me when I was younger, and really put that into overdrive for my paintball career, or the paintball journey that I'm on right now. Because for a while there, I was just kind of floating around, enjoying stuff. And, in college, I partied and all that, like anybody would.
Yeah.
But after that, I came back to realize, like, I want to do something that means something to me, at least. I want to do something that makes me feel good at the end of the week or in the month, or when I look back on my life. I don't want to feel like I was just hanging out and just kind of doing whatever. And that kind of reinstilled the idea that, like, if I want to do something meaningful, I'm going to have to work hard for it. So even though I had that early on, I felt like it kind of got lost, and then reinstilled just through reabsorbing the right kind of information and not focusing on all the negativity or just the other inputs that I was getting throughout my life, whether it be from peers that just wanted to party, or watching, music videos or whatever else, TV shows that are kind of rotting your brain, so to speak. It's definitely been a big part of my life, though. Working hard's the thing that the secret that's got me to where I'm at, certainly.
Yeah. Gosh, thanks for sharing that, because that resonates a lot with me. I've talked about it a lot, like on socials and on the podcast so far, but like my new book that's coming out in a few weeks, there's a part in the last chapter where I talk about a circle of friends that I had, and they were just so toxic. And like, I was surrounding myself with that. And I realized, like, man, I'm doing myself a disservice by being around these people. And it was so hard to pull away from that. But once I broke out of that, I noticed myself as a person just like skyrocketed. And that's where like some of the work came in with like the podcast, and not limiting myself to just, well, what if they make fun of me? Like, what if I do this? My group of friends is going to laugh at me about it. And that mindset starts to turn like, no, I need to be around people who are going to bring me up and, push me forward. And so I totally resonate with what you're saying. I do want to break down one thing that you said, because I think I see it a lot in paintball, especially now, like in my spot where I'm behind the lens and I'm in more of like I can observe a lot of people. And you said when you were playing football, your dad told you just volunteer as quick as you can and like be the first to do those things. When you said that, I felt myself go, ooh, whenever I have to volunteer for something, the first thought is like, I don't want to be the first, or man, it's going to be really scary to be the first. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like by you doing that so often, that fear that people have of like, well, what are people going to think about me is no longer in your mind. Is that right?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, you have to push that out of your brain. You can't be worried about what other people are thinking in order to achieve whatever you want, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like that process of being worried is just kind of limiting you in your end goals. So it's definitely a strategy almost to be the first one. So then you don't have to be judged against anybody else too, right? Like you think that it's going to be bad if you're the first one, but then when the next person goes up, they're just trying to do different than what you did. And then everybody's now comparing them to what you did. So say the first person goes up and they kill it. Now you definitely don't want to be second. Who wants to be second? Then you're not third or fourth. And then you're like pushing yourself down the line. And now you're end up being last, which is the worst place to be. Now they have everyone to compare you to and everyone to kind of judge you off of, right? And I feel like waiting longer only made that feeling worse for me. So deciding to jump up and do it right away, it almost took the ability for me to be concerned out. It's something that I also learned later in life about making decisions, even like when you think about a choice. I can't remember who it was, but someone said count down from 3 to 0 or to 1, and then you get up and you do the thing right away. You can't count up to 3 because then you can just keep counting past it. So you don't give yourself the time to rethink about this decision you might make or you might not make. You go, oh yeah, I need to get up for the gym in the morning. You know, speaking of getting up early and things, 3, 2, 1. Okay, time to get up. Like there's no choice. This is just what I do now. I just get up and I go to the gym now, or whatever it is. Like if you just decide in the moment that you think about it to just do the action, the fear process never has a chance to take hold. And then you're just getting that stuff done. And that fear kind of fades away.
Yeah. And I mean, you probably see it a lot now too, especially being in paintball, but I see it a lot where when at practices, you know, there's like one-on-one drills or whatnot, and like, all right, let's do some drills. And you see people like start to fade back a little bit. And you see people like look at like, well, you're going to go first. Right. And I think that's where like the Scott Stewarts of the world are going to start to step out and shine, is if they can get over that mentality of like, well, what are my peers going to think? You know, what if I do mess up? Because let's be honest, you know, paintball is a stage. You're in front of all your friends and doing one-on-ones or those drills. You're on a stage in front of all of your peers. And so I think a lot of people psychologically talk themselves out of it and delay that as long as they can, which they're just doing themselves a disservice.
Yeah. I feel like you're just making that fear grow. You're allowing it to become a thing, right? You know, don't turn a molehill into a mountain kind of thing, right? Like you're letting it grow from something small to actually get bigger. When you kill it early, it can't grow to become big, you know?
Yeah. You know, if that hasn't been on a Welts t-shirt yet, maybe it's like, that's 3, 2, 1, go or something. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. There you go. That could be a good one.
Yeah.
I like that.
Speaking of hard work, I think in our pre-show, you had shared with me a pretty vulnerable story about your time on AC Dallas. And I would love to learn about that and that experience that you had and what made it so hard and what you took away from that.
Yeah, I mean, so that whole season, I was working really hard. I had just moved out here from Colorado at the time, which is where I moved after college. So grew up in Cali, went to Colorado, then came here. And when I came here, it was just for paintball. I did come with my friend Dylan Fout. Dylan filmed it for anybody that knows him just through social media. And so that was a good person to have with you, you know, someone that also is about working hard and about, you know, finding a way to make things work. But also a bunch of other players came onto the team at the same time, right? That was when AC Dallas just lost, you know, all the big names that were AC Dallas for however many years. TJ Danner, Matt Jackson, John Jackson, BJ, whoever else they all had. Those are the names that come up to the top of my head right away. But I mean, such a good team that had been around for a long time. And then to join that team as a fresh rebuild was already a big thing. And, you know, trying to get my first chance in pro was big. So I was really nervous when I came out here. And that first year just didn't really go the way I would have loved for it to go. I had been used to playing and being the guy on all my divisional teams, as I'm sure most players that go up in anything do. You talk about the same thing that happens in pro sports that are big, a guy that's been the man in high school, in college, and then he goes to the NFL and he's not really the guy anymore, right? So going through that process of adjusting to that and not being the guy, feeling like I had a really hard time trying to earn that trust as well and really show it to the coaching staff and gain the ability to earn reps seemed to be almost impossible for me. So I'm going to the field every weekend when we have our regular practices. At that time, Fit didn't have lights, but I would be there usually Tuesdays and Thursdays, sometimes Wednesdays and Thursdays or something like that. And I would just go by myself and I'd just go do drills because I knew, okay, I'm not getting any spins on the weekend when coaches are there and they're putting in the lines they want to see. I'm not on those lines. So I need to be better. So I would go and I'd do the fundamental drills that I needed to do or that I felt like I could. I was asking teammates what drills I should do. I was just finding ways to get into better condition and to just feel like I would be undeniable at some point. That was my thought process in the moment, is like, okay, if I just keep working hard, at some point, they're not going to be able to say, no, you don't play. Because every time they play me, I'm going to be so good. They're like, fuck, we have to play him at least one more point. Like, he just needs another one because he did such a good point, that one. Like, we'll give him one more. We don't want to, but we'll give him one more. And that was kind of my thought process throughout the whole season, is I'm going to work so hard that they can't sit me anymore. But I mean, it gets tough. I'm playing for months and months and months because I moved out here and I want to say it was January or February. And I'm just grinding that whole time. I don't get to play the first event except for maybe like 3 points or 4 points, if that. And I thought I did okay in those points. We won a couple of them that I got to play, but it wasn't enough. The coaches still didn't trust me. I wasn't still able to make a spot. Even as a rotational player, it wasn't like, okay, yeah, every couple, if this guy's tired, like Scott's the guy to put in for that. I'll give credit to my teammates when it was just all of us there. I would get spins. They would help me as much as possible and try and really help build me up. But when it came back to the coaches being there, the spins went back down to near none. And I was just grabbing pods and filling things up. And so it started to get discouraging, where it doesn't feel like you're making any progress. That year, quite a few times, I'm wondering what I'm doing. Like, why am I still doing this? All the players that had joined that weren't local had already left again. So we had like 2 guys that I can remember off the top of my head that joined the team when they became AC Dallas that weren't already Paintball Fit, that kind of got bumped up as a group.
Yeah.
Those 2 guys left within, I believe, the first 2 events. Wow. After the first 2 events, neither of those guys were there. I don't even know if anybody made it to the second event. The first event, everybody was still there. After that, when we had the Astra event, we had other local events or, just in general, other NXL events, and nobody else had made it anymore. So at this point, not only am I not getting any spins, not feeling like I'm making any progress, but all the people that started the journey with me kind of at the same time as me, so to speak, had left. So now it's me from out of state and then 6 guys, 7 guys that had all been together for at least a couple seasons.
Yeah.
And I was starting to feel like the outsider. And like I'd already said, I was feeling discouraged. So instead of letting all that get to me, I just continued to work, continued to just put in the effort. And I was like, okay, if it doesn't pay off now, this is going to set me up with building blocks for the future. And like the next year and the year after that, and other teams that see that I'm working hard, or that, I went out at that year and I even went and trained with other pros. I hit up like Cody Mikowski and I did a pro clinic, so to speak, with him, or a private clinic with him. Yeah. And a couple other players. I was trying to find any way I could to get better, and it just didn't seem to be making any progress. So like I said, I was definitely questioning myself, wondering if I should keep doing this, wondering what I was doing, why I moved out to Texas for this, wondering why I decided I need to be on a pro team right away. Like maybe I made the jump too fast, kind of questioning a lot of the decisions I had made. And so just in general that year, because you're not getting what you want and you're working really hard, was super tough. And just having to continue to keep a good mindset about that. There was a lot of reels that I would watch like every morning to try and remotivate myself and remind myself of what I was doing. One that I can remember from Kevin Hart actually was the hardest thing in the world to do is to get up and work as hard as you can and have nothing happen. Nothing comes from it, no progress, nothing. You don't see anything. You don't feel anything. It's like going to the gym the first couple of times or for the first month, possibly even depending on where you're at physically, right? you don't see any progress. You're like, what did I just wake up, or what I stay late? What did I do whatever for? Why did I make this sacrifice for all this time and I have nothing? And then you wake up and you do it again. Then you wake up and do it again. And that's the hardest thing he said in the world. Just keep going. And so I just used all that as motivation to be like, okay, like this is going to pay off in some way. Like this is going to work out for me in some way. So I'm just going to keep going, keep grinding. And eventually it's going to work out. And I became closer and closer with all the guys, and they started to, help me more, even just, it was just more friendly. Right. So it felt like my group of friends, not just like an outsider. And that made it a little bit easier, but still not getting the spins. That's what I'm here for. Right. I'm here to play paintball, not to ride the bench, and not even feel like I'm getting spins in practice either. This isn't only during the events that I'm not getting spins and I'm mad and we're doing good. Like we're losing a lot. I'm not getting spins in practice, and I'm not getting to play at the event. So it's like, okay, where do I then get to a spot to prove that I deserve those spins in the event if I'm not even getting a chance in practice? So all that's just swirling in my head. I do remember a turning point for me was definitely cup practices right before cup. We had a couple practices, and especially the last one where we went, it was like right after they made the lights at Fit. We came back after a long day on the cup layout and we played a little bit more, mostly just did drills. But I remember we were just goofing around as a group, and that was the first time it felt like, okay, paintball is like, it's still fun. Yeah. And that whole season, I hadn't really been having a lot of fun playing paintball because I was so hard on myself about wanting to be better and wanting to improve and wanting to earn what I thought I deserved, but not having that. So once that moment of like, okay, we're all still friends, like this is fun, like we're doing this because we love it, that reminded me of why I was there, and really allowed me to push through the rest of the season, which it was already pretty close to the end. But that's what kept me alive right there, is just those guys and the camaraderie as well. But yeah, that year just in general was really hard. When you're trying to go for something and you don't feel like you're getting anywhere, spinning your wheels is how it feels. It's tough to keep those things moving.
Yeah, I mean, whenever anyone talks about a life-changing event like moving across the country or taking a risk and leaving your job for a new job, you craft this beautiful vision in your mind of it's all going to go well, right? Like everything's going to land into place. And for that not to happen for you, I think that's where a lot of times the voice can creep in for people's minds and like, hey, maybe you shouldn't have done this. Like maybe you should just go back to, Colorado where you came from and pick up where you were. There's a good book I just read from Seth Godin called The Dip. And in that book, he talks about that where like, hey, when you're right there where you feel like you're about to give up, like that's the point to like keep going. Cause like you're almost about to break through to that other side essentially. And so if you had to summarize that, because I think a lot of people are going through that, whether they're on a divisional team, maybe they're on like a semi-pro team, or maybe they're on a lower tier pro team, they want to make that bump. What piece of advice would you give to somebody who if they feel like they're just grinding, they're putting in the hours, but they're not seeing the fruit of their labor? What would you say to that person? Hey, super quick, everybody. Just want to take a quick moment and say thank you so much for everyone who has shown support and subscribed to the podcast. This thing is growing like crazy. And so if you haven't yet, take a moment, hit that subscribe button. It means a lot. All right, back to the show.
The mantra I started using that season and I still use now is keep struggling. Like the pain is worth something. I pull so many things from inspirational speakers. So there's a quote from Eric Thomas, or E.T. the hip hop preacher, if you're more familiar with that name, where he says, don't cry to give up, cry to keep going, right? Like if you're already in pain, you're already, dealing with a lot. If you quit, like then that pain just lasts forever. Like the pain never goes away because then you quit in the middle of the pain. So like if you're already in pain, get a reward from it. Get to the end, get to the result that you want, because you're already going to be dealing with pain. Like no matter what, whether you quit or not, you're already in this pain. So let's get a reward. Let's get to the end and let's get what we really want out of it. I think of also the picture. People have probably seen this, maybe not, but there's like a picture of like two people mining underground, right? And one guy's stopping and he's walking back and he was like this far away from the gold and the other person's still going and they hit it. It's like, just like you just said, the dip is kind of right before it's about to get good. So when it feels like it's the hardest, that's when you really need to push the most and keep going. You don't have to do extra. You don't have to do more. You just have to keep going. Like just keep the process going. Go through one more day of doing the steps and following the process and do it with intent. And I'll just walk through it. do it with intent. But if you have to go a little bit easier on some days, but you're still stepping forward, that's okay. Then on the days where you can give 100%, give 100%. Don't try and give 150 and then only be able to give 25 the next day. Just try and give 100% every day. Whatever your 100% is, give that. And in the end, everything's going to work out.
Did you feel like that year of struggle with Dallas, were you overstretching yourself and like trying to do more than what you should have been doing just to try to prove everybody?
I don't think I was doing that. I definitely could see where in times I would do that. And I think definitely in moments on the field, especially, I'd be doing that. But as far as like going to practice or like going and doing drills in the middle of the week by myself and that kind of stuff and just really pushing myself, I was always finding a way every single day. And I still do this, I would say 95% of the time. I always find something every single day to say, okay, I got a little bit better, whether it was going to the field and doing drills, making sure I woke up in the morning and got to the gym, or did the gym and then also made sure I watched just like an hour of film, just some amount of like, okay, what were the guys doing that worked? Like what's the best pro team doing on this layout? How the other snake players play it, or how the other twos or the Dorito side guys, and kind of just trying to pick up on little tendencies like, oh, he stands over the top of these snake bunkers a lot. Like I never do that. Why don't I stand over the top of these bunkers? And like just trying to pick up little things. I think that's also something that just really helped me and really allowed me to get to that next level.
That right there is the theme of what I've been hearing lately. Like that's my classroom. I had Archie on 2 weeks ago, and I asked him a similar question about, I think his question was, if you had to give advice to a divisional player that wants to make it to where you are, what would you say? And he says, there's no point of showing up to the field if you're not going to focus on improving something like every Sunday. And I hear that a lot from pros is, I'm not going to practice just to like hang out with my friends or like, look cool in my headgear. Like I am going there with intention to work on one specific thing. And like, if I leave that field and I didn't better myself, I did myself a disservice. And I hear that a lot from guys like in your circle, like on the pro league.
Certainly. I mean, I think if you're going there and you're wasting your time, I think that's the biggest fear from everybody, is like going out there and not getting anything from it. I think that's why a lot of teams don't practice every weekend as a group, because they're like, I can't get anything from practicing 42 times this year. But if I practice 12, like we're going to have 12 really good practices, or whatever the number is. I'm not trying to say how many other teams are practicing, but I'm just saying, that ratio of being, okay, I can go for volume and just kind of go out there and dick around, or I can go out there and every time I go out there, I'm going to be focused and ready to go and feeling energized about it and all that, and making sure to have the right intent every time you go out there and feeling like you're actually going to get something out of it.
It's that quality versus quantity.
Yeah, I think a lot of people face that burnout because they don't want to be there every weekend. So when they're forced to do something they don't want to do, that's when you get the gap between doing it with intent and just getting it done, because you don't really want to be there. And when you don't want to be there, it's hard to do it with intent.
It so is. If you can crack that code, then that's where the gold is.
Yes.
Hey, I want to jump back a little bit. One of the things that I've had the fortunate of is, one, just being a fan of you and Paintball Fit. I grew up, I think it's no surprise to anybody, I grew up a huge Dynasty fan, right? Like I had these guys in my walls when I was a kid, and I still got some of their jerseys up here. And watching you guys and Fit ascend through the ranks, it's so hard, or it's actually very easy to see the parallel between what Paintball Fit is doing, what you're doing to that team, right? And it almost feels like at some point that torch is going to be passed from, this legendary team to the next legendary team. And it feels like Paintball Fit's right there. Like you guys have it. And the reason I say all that is last year, it kind of culminated at World Cup for me. I'm going to bring up a picture or two here. Obviously I started to build connections with you and build connections with the team. And there's just something different about when I am taking photos of friends versus, people that are in the league that I just don't know. There's a different connection point, right? And I'll bring this up here and have you walk me through it. But this is I think maybe the last point of the event.
Yeah, I think I know which photo. Yeah, I had a feeling.
Yeah, so for those of you that are listening in, this is a picture. Scott just dove into the snake. It's late in the day. It's like the sun sets in the background. And he's got paint just spewing out of his barrel. I think it's like half the barrel at this point. So like, walk me through this.
Yeah, so this was overtime of the finals match. So we had just won 2 like 30-second points in order to tie it. I was extremely tired. We actually walked a couple guys out there to run like a 3-second point to give us the extra, 60 seconds. I think those are between points every time, or 2 minutes, whatever it is. We got the extra, the double break basically. You get the break after the last point to tie it. They have like a less than 10-second point. And I'm like, play it, please play it. You guys need to go out there and play it. Someone play it, please. Because I need the time. Recovered as best I could. I go out for that next point. And unfortunately, as I dive in, I take a bad dive. I get a really good core sample, which. Do
you still have it?
Funny enough, I still got the core sample right here. It's still done in pretty good.
Wow. Does it still have the dirt in there from World Cup?
Yeah. I left the dirt in there. I didn't take it out.
That's like a Hall of Fame piece right there.
So that's still in there. But yeah, I mean, it was really bad. I then reached for a squeegee, no squeegee at all. I look at Cyrus, who has a squeegee, and he's in the spot next to me. I'm like, Cyrus, I need your squeegee. And right as I say it, he like wraps a little bit more in his spot and then runs forward up the field to go down to the middle, which was a great move by him. But then I'm just stuck with no barrel, basically.
That right there, hang on. I just want to stop you there. That's where my heart sunk for you, because like I just felt like, man, you guys like had this, like the energy was there, and then to see that happen, like I get chills thinking about it now. It's like, holy cow, like this is all going to go away. And this is where I think your mentality really kicks in. So sorry to interrupt. I want to add that little caveat to it.
No, you're totally fine. So quickly, I'm like, all right, well, I got to figure something else out. I think I might have taken the whole barrel off at first, just to try and see if I could do anything. Ended up taking just the tip off. I try and shoot a handful of times. Well, I shoot the ground. I always make sure I can just shoot. So I shoot the ground. It's working okay. Try and shoot a couple times down the field. I realize the insert's popping out, and that's causing the paint to shred even more. So I'm like shoving the insert back in, trying to shoot a couple. It's starting to shred, shoving it back in a couple times. Eventually, I'm like, all right, well, this isn't going to work either. So I just take the insert out completely. I think I put it all into my pocket. By the end, I'm pretty sure everything had fallen out of my pockets, but I tried to shove it into my pocket. Yeah. I never know anymore what equipment can be kept and what can be left. So I'm just like, I'm taking everything. I'm not getting called out on something silly right now. So I just took that, started crawling my way down the snake, trying to draw attention as best I could. The guys started peeling off people down the snake side slowly. So every time they did, I tried to take another bump, get a little bit closer, pop my head up, kind of draw attention from either the center or the Dorito side if I could. And then I remember they killed, I think it was Urena out of the back corner on the snake side there. And that's when I got to kind of stand up out of their snake and was like, okay, just one guy left. And at that point, I'm just kind of head checking, making Nick Laval shoot at me, crawl a little bit further, popped up again, shot some more paint because he was starting to look around. My paint's barely flying anywhere, by the way. I don't know if you've ever shot a paintball gun with no barrel on it, but without the insert, it's basically a paintball gun with no barrel. That thing does not go far. It's just really loud. That's all it is. So, yeah. So I just pull up, I shoot more. Pretty sure you can hear my gun on the webcast that's actually going on there. And so he ends up looking towards me, but as he starts to sit back and lean towards me, or like I think he actually leaned up on the bunker, that's when Cyrus comes up over the top and gets him to finish it off. And so that was just absolutely insane. I'm just exhausted in that moment, and nobody's hitting the buzzer, so I go walk down and hit it, and that's how we won World Cup. It was pretty insane.
And then the cool part about that is like when that happened, you started to walk back, and then I'll pull this next picture up. It was just a cool moment. You were walking right towards me and held up the gun with half of the barrel. And for me, it was just such an iconic moment of you just went through the pinnacle, probably the most important moment in your paintball career, I would imagine at that point, and to have all of that happen and to still have the mindset of like, I've got to stay calm and put it all together again. That's the difference maker, I think, from top tier pros versus a divisional player, right? Because the divisional player would start to freak out and panic, and like you see it, they punch the hopper, and to watch you go through that moment at World Cup and just stay calm and like, okay, I got to figure this out, and then also still have the mindset to how can I still stay involved in this game was just one of the coolest moments I've ever witnessed.
Thank you. It was crazy. Absolutely crazy. And I'd had a couple of situations like that, obviously not on as big of a stage. Is there a bigger stage than finals at World Cup? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
So I'd had some situations like that. I remember in Divisional at one point, I don't remember if it was my ASA started leaking, something started leaking. So I had to turn off the air. And so I would like set up, like look around, dive into the next spot, turn on the air, like start leaking everywhere, shoot a little bit, come back down, keep going. I remember I think I tried to run someone down. I don't know if I got him or not now, but I ended up just like trying to do something to kind of blow the game open. I want to say we won the point.
Yeah.
But yeah, just all those repetitions of playing so much paintball and dealing with weird situations in general, you learn to just figure out what the next thing is, whether your guy just got bunkered and you thought he was going to win the game, or your gun goes down, or anything else that happens. You realize, okay, like if we want to win this point, it's still possible, but what's the next step?
Yeah.
Just staying focused on that.
I know our sport has a lot of intangibles. That's hard to teach in the moment, but I'm surprised we've never, as a sport or even as like a professional side of it, gone out there with a team and the coach hands you, hey, I'm going to hand you this marker, something's wrong with it, and when the match starts, you've got to figure it out.
Right.
It teaches you while paint's flying at you and everything's happening, how do I stay calm and like figure out, okay, where's this leak coming from, or why is my barrel not working, whatever it is. I feel like that might be a good drill for some divisional teams to go through that mental practice and that mental hurdle.
Certainly. I always encourage everyone to have a general understanding of how your gun works. If you can't break it down every single piece, like that's not the biggest deal, right? You probably don't need to break down every piece, but you should understand how to pull the bolt out and check the eyes and, make sure your air is actually getting to something. Like some of the basic things you need to know how to do that and how to go, okay, it's not the eyes. I feel like it's not feeding because of something else that you did. You got to be able to check a couple things off the list. Is it the hopper the problem, the tank the problem? Is the gun on? Some of the basics. If you can't do, 4 or 5 things to try and troubleshoot in the middle of the game, I feel like you're actually doing yourself a disservice. If you don't know how to take your hopper off and make sure there's a ball down in there, and maybe have to take your hopper apart because there's a ball stuck somewhere in there. It's like those little things that really aren't a huge deal can make a difference, especially in a situation like that I was in.
Yeah, I mean, that's where equipment can lose the game versus talent on the field.
Totally. And that's the last thing you want, which is why we have such great guns with Planet Eclipse, man. Let me tell you.
Yeah, they've been unreal lately. Speaking of Planet Eclipse and, having those guns be just part of your pinnacle moments, let's shift gears a little bit and jump back to this year. You've been in some crazy iconic moments this year with some one-on-ones, and I want to pull up the last picture here. And when I pull it up, I would love to get your thought of, one, like what's your reaction when you see that picture, like reliving that moment, and then 2, when we talk about it, I want to know what your mindset is going into these moments. So when I pull it up here, it's a picture of Scott in Atlantic City, downpouring rain. Matt Soma, the referee on the Dorito side, just gives a thumbs up to the booth that the point's good, and you throw your arms up in old athlete style of like, are you not entertained? Walk me through that.
Yeah, I mean, this moment in particular was absolutely insane. Just being able to pull that off for the team. I was definitely confident when they gave me that opportunity, but it's a lot of pressure no matter what, and just being able to do that for all those guys that they all worked so hard. And I knew we should have won both the points leading up to that moment to where we shouldn't have even been in this situation. And so in my head, like I had to pull it off for us because those moments were already ours. Like we already had won this thing twice and just didn't fully pull it off.
Yeah.
I needed to go out there and do it for those guys. And so being able to get the call and execute for us, I just felt so happy for myself, of course, but also for the team. And just that I was able to do that for all of us and kind of grow our legacy instantly, as one of the few teams to ever win 3 in a row in pro. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. It's hard to compare that to any other moments really in paintball for me personally, just because of how big that moment was. Like you said, the rain, all of the situation that kind of made it what it was. It was amazing. Tauntaun's first year, and they're trying to do something that's never been done of coming over and winning for themselves in Europe or in US after being such a dominant team in Europe for so long. being able to kind of prevent that also is a sweet spot of it as well.
What goes through your mind when that situation happens and the coach says, "Hey, Scott, you're up"? Like, what's that first thought?
Yeah, I was definitely already ready. I expected him to call my name. We had been in a overtime one-on-one situation previously, 2 years prior when we were trying to win our pro spot. The first cup that we tried to win the pro spot back after getting relegated in, I think, quarters against Distortion. I had to play a one-on-one there too and was able to pull that one off. So I kind of had a good feeling that I was most likely going to be the one they call. And then at that point, it's just about going straight into strategy for me. We don't play a lot of one-on-one drills as Paintball Fit, but we know the field and we understand these fields really well. So I instantly was just thinking about, okay, who are they going to put out there? I thought in my head, okay, Fedorov or Axel. One of the two is who it's most likely going to be. I didn't think anybody else was trusted quite as much as those two or believed in quite as much as those two in that camp. So I thought between those two. And then I just started thinking about how I wanted to attack it, where the best spot was to start and where to go from there. There wasn't really a home bunker to play in that one. It was the lay down brick. So it's not like I wanted to stand over top of the brick. You could get shot brick to brick over the top. So I didn't want that to be a concern. The can snake side was extremely risky to make on normal breakouts. So if he thinks I'm going to go there and he shoots that way, that's like a 50-50 chance that I make it. Yeah. And in a one-on-one, that's the last thing I want. So instantly I want to be in the closer, safer bunker. So I went towards the Dorito side there, or thought about going to the Dorito side. I'm saying this all before the match even starts or before the one-on-one even starts. And then from there, it's all about just read and react, in my opinion. I don't want to make too many game plans of like, I'm going to go here, then I'm going to go forward, or I'm going to go out to the Doritos, or I'm going to go cut back to the middle to try and mess him up. For me, it was about, okay, I now need to keep an eye on him, what he's doing, and then just read and react on what's going to happen from there. So then preparing as I'm going through that in my head, we're waiting. It's a long delay because they had the buzzer press whole fiasco of like wanting to make sure that Axel didn't press it, or there wasn't a timing delay between when he hit it and when the time really should have ran out and everything. So there was a long period of break there, and Fedorov had walked kind of almost all the way into our pit. He was talking with Trozen, kind of laughing. He had no mask on. I want to say his pack might have been off too. So once I saw him, I said, okay, it's not Fedorov. It's going to be Axel. And at that point, I was just prepared for that. I'm like, okay, he's going to try and get small and get lost. That is his biggest advantage, is he's quick and he's small. Like, he's going to try and get lost in some spots. I need to get out to a spot where I'm going to be able to see both sides of his bunker so he can't sneak away. There was lots of big bunkers in the center. They weren't tall, but they were wide, which is almost worse when you have a small guy to where he's not going to be able to stick over the top, but that means he could possibly get lost.
Either side, yeah.
I knew I technically had the advantage of maybe being able to play over the top of those spots. But in a one-on-one, I don't really want to be in a gigantic bunker that I'm trying to look around. I want to be in something small that I can play all sides of very easily.
Can maneuver quickly. Yeah.
So that was kind of my mindset going in. And then after, you've thought about the strategy, it's just about believing in yourself. I had a huge amount of belief that I was going to win that stuff for my team. Like I said, I knew I almost owed it to them, right? Like, we should have won those last two. I didn't feel like I was playing terrible in the last two and I needed to make up for it. But I just said, we should have already won this. Like, I need to go through and finish it off for all of us. I need to make sure I hit this exclamation point, basically, so we can go out as champions the way we should, because we should have done that the last 2 points, is made sure we were already champs. And then just like the thought of like being undeniable, I say that to myself a lot. That's the same thing I was trying to tell myself when I was not playing at all on AC Dallas, is like, the only option is just to be absolutely undeniable, be so good they have no choice. And that's something I'm pretty sure I picked up from Kobe. I think he said that in an interview a long time ago about, if when he first started playing for the Lakers, he wasn't playing starting. He was playing, he wasn't starting though. And he was like, I just have to be so good that they can't deny me. They can't let me come off the bench anymore. I have to be a starter. And so that's the same thing I just tell myself. I'm like, I am undeniable. I'm going to be undeniable right here. And like, this is going to be a win. We're going to go home and we're going to celebrate. So
that was one of the things I was going to ask.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was going to ask you, because I think a lot of times, and you had mentioned it, for that specific point, there was the timeout and like it was a long period of time. And that's where players in that situation, like their mind starts to go to really wild places of, hey, I'm excited, I'm nervous, the self-doubt kicks in. And so it sounds like for you, your mantra when that happens is just to keep saying over and over again, I'm undeniable. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's a couple things going through my head, but that's the general thought process, believing just in myself. And I know I've already put in the work. This is my moment. I'm absolutely undeniable. We're going to be undeniable when I'm going into a match to start. And then in a situation like that, where it's a one-on-one, it's like, I am undeniable. Like, this is going to work out. Everything's going to pay off,
Oh, gosh, I love that mindset. It's perfectly tied into like what you're doing with your brand, which I want to jump into here next. Before I do that, you mentioned one word that it means a lot to me, and some people go back and forth on it. But I heard you say the word legacy, and I think about that a lot, just from like a family perspective of like what I want to leave for my family. Do you think about that at all? Is 20, 30 years from now, 40 years from now, for that matter, when you're outside of the sport, looking back at your pro career, do you think about that legacy and what you want to leave behind?
Certainly. I definitely have thought about that a lot as I continue to grow more and more just in life, not even necessarily only in paintball.
Yeah.
Of just wanting to have a real legacy and be able to look back and be not proud or not like make other people proud, but to make myself proud and feel like I did something that was worthwhile, and not look back, the thing they talk about as being the biggest problem or biggest regret when you get older is that you didn't do something or that you didn't take that chance.
Yeah.
And so my goal is definitely to have the fewest or hopefully no regrets, if possible, looking back on my life when I'm really old, and there's quite a few things I've heard that I kind of replay to myself in moments like that, where I feel like I need to do more, where I want to do more. And that's stuff like, you want to make not just yourself happy now, but you're looking to make yourself proud when you were 8 and the 80-year-old version of you. If you can, the 8-year-old and the 80-year-old version are happy about what you're doing, like, I think you're doing all right, So I definitely think about what I'm doing today is going to leave behind for other people and how I might be able to impact people. And that's what actually started me with posting the way I do on Instagram and social media in general.
Yeah.
Is wanting to be able to share what I've learned or what has helped me at least. And I'm not where I want to be yet. And I don't think I'm some super successful person, but I understand that I'm also further than where I was in the past. And in the past, I wished I was where I am at now. So I try and relay some of those lessons that I've learned through my social media posts. And hopefully that then impacts just one person that says, hey, I'm going to do a little bit more because of that post, or that post particularly resonated with me. So that actually helped me get through my day, or it helped me get through that next goal or that next milestone that I really wanted, where maybe they were thinking about possibly giving up, or, what am I doing? Is this really what's meant for me? And so, yeah, legacy is definitely a big part of it, and wanting to do something that's going to last more than just when I'm here, and something that can actually last long enough to impact the people that are coming behind me, and hopefully the people behind them as well, really leave a lasting impact.
Yeah. Thanks for opening up with that, because I've asked that question a lot on this podcast, and a lot of people like shy away from it, or like, I don't think about that, but I think deep down they do. And the way you explained it, it's actually the exact way how I think about legacy. Is I always look backwards, like, man, when I was a kid, what would I have imagined or what would I have wanted? And then I flash forward to like when I'm 80 or 90 years old, what do I not want to regret? Like, I don't want to have regrets in my life. And then that brings me back to now, like, okay, how can I make that kid proud? And how can I make that person set up for success when I'm older? So it's cool to hear that you've got a similar mindset with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to think about it to some level. And I think if you haven't, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just something that you should be thinking about, right? Like, we should be thinking about what's going to be left behind for the people after us, because if it wasn't for whoever might have inspired you, like how would you be here? Whoever you are, right? Like, or the lack of inspiration should then inspire you even more to want to inspire the next group, right? Like, that's something in some ways that I definitely take to myself, is like, I had that period of time where I wasn't inspired. That was really when I was going to college, end of high school, beginning of college, or most of college, I would say, where I was kind of very uninspired, and I was just like drinking a lot and partying a lot and just kind of barely doing what I needed to do to get by. And then everything else was just for like instant satisfaction, whatever was fun in the moment. And it's not that I disliked that life or that I didn't have fun doing that, but afterwards, looking back, I was kind of regretting some of the decisions I made, or regretting some of the choices. And I don't want to say I regret those choices completely, because those have led me to who I am today. But then that realization of like, hey, I want more for my life, and I want to be able to look back and like have real stories to like share and enjoy, and not just like reminisce on 40 years ago, but talk about things that I was really able to do that might inspire someone, or really able to change in my life. And that lostness for that period of time in college is what inspired me to want to help other people. Because I feel like everyone learns from their parents that you can be anything, right? Like even when you're really young, teachers even tell you can be anything you want, whatever you want. Then at some point that story kind of changes. And people start to say stuff like, be realistic. Like, hey, you can't be a superstar athlete, sir. Like, you're not built this way, or you don't have this speed already. And it's like, a lot of those kids believe it, and then that's what causes them to not do those things they want. But some of the pros in whatever sport you love aren't made for that sport. You know, like when you think about back in the day, basketball, like Spud Webb was super small, right? I mean, he was dunking and doing all this stuff. Like, you don't have to be built for it. If you have a desire and a passion and a work ethic, you can have literally anything. It's still true. Just because people stop saying it to you doesn't mean it's not true anymore. So like just kind of remembering that again and retelling myself all those same things that we were told when we were young is what reinvigorated me to want to go out and actually do something worthwhile, do something that at least I found worthwhile and I thought could help other people.
Yeah, and it clearly has. I mean, what you're doing on the field and off the field is leaving such an impact for people, which is all part of your legacy. And that brings me to, I want to learn more about your brand, right? Because I've seen it everywhere, you know, especially here in Texas, here at, you know, in Austin, everyone is rocking the welts. Everyone is, you know, keep struggling. Tell me about that and what that means to you and how that all started.
Yeah, so it really started because my buddy just wanted to start a clothing brand, something he had always wanted to do. He's actually my current roommate right now here. He had always wanted to start a street clothing brand, something just like to express his creativity is what he wanted. And so when he started Welts, he made his like first like one shirt, just a basic logo on the front. I think he wrote family on the back of them. And I bought, you know, a couple and instantly was like, yo, do you want help? Like, do you want to build this thing to something? Like, I would love to jump in and help you out. You know, I loved just the name and the idea that he had behind it is, you know, that welts obviously is what you get from paintball. You know, when I went to Germany, they weren't so aware that that's what we call it in America, is those marks you get from paintball are called welts.
What do they call them in Germany?
What's that?
What do they call them over there?
I don't know. They didn't say what they called it, but they were asking me about the brand. And when I was like, oh, because it's the mark they leave on you, you know, when you're playing paintball, they're like, oh. And then I, you know, told them the rest of it as well. I'm like, oh, okay. Now it's a double meaning. I get it now. But yeah, I feel like the welts you get in paintball is the same idea as going through hard times in real life, where in the moment it sucks, right? Getting shot or getting blasted and bunkered is not a fun time. And you get these big red marks, but then you learn from it. And then eventually the mark just goes away, right? Like it just fades. And then you're better because of it. You learn to pop the top or to, you know, ask someone to look over your back so you don't get bunkered, or you just learn that layout better and you know not to overextend yourself and get too close when no one can protect you. There's all the different things that you might learn from that one welt. The same thing with life. Like life is going to beat you up. You're going to have hard moments, and it's not about quitting or trying to avoid any hard moments. It's about using those hard moments to grow and get even better. So I feel like that's kind of what we try to promote and try to instill in people here at Welts. And so that's the mantras like keep struggling come from exactly that, where, yeah, it's going to be hard. Like I said, you don't cry to give up. You cry to keep going. Like if you're already upset, you're already in pain, let's get something out of it. Let's keep struggling until it pays off, because it always pays off. All the hard work, it does pay off. Sometimes it just takes longer than you want, and you have to work harder and longer than you thought. That doesn't mean that it didn't pay off. If you ever quit something, you're like, oh, the hard work never paid off. It's like, well, it didn't for you because you gave up before it paid off. Like there, it was going to pay off eventually. I understand it maybe didn't feel that way to you in the moment. You felt like this is never going to work. But that's how I believe and how I live my life is eventually, if you keep working, and it's going to be longer than you thought, it's going to be harder than you thought, it's going to probably take more than you thought, like more sacrifice, more money, depending on what the situation is, more. It's going to be more than whatever you thought it was, whatever you allocated at the beginning. It's going to be more than that. But in the end, if you do everything it takes, you're going to get the reward in the end. It's just a matter of time.
Gosh, that's I have a whole new respect for the brand now. That's for sure. I loved it. Like I love the logo. It screams paintball, but also like it's something that I could see like, you know, rocking around the town here, like as casual wear. But you know, honestly, I'll be vulnerable until this conversation, like, I've heard you guys all talk about keep struggling, and I'm like, man, I just don't know if I get it. Like, I didn't like it, because for me, I like to try to appreciate moments, and like I would hear you guys like, hey, we're not happy yet, we're not satisfied yet, keep struggling. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Like, you got to appreciate these moments. But to hear you like now explain it behind it, like, I've got such a huge respect for the brand now and for what you guys are doing, and it resonates so much.
I think the lack of positivity in the message is actually why I love it so much. I constantly have people question me, even my own parents, when they first heard that, they're like, that doesn't really make sense. Like, why are you telling people to keep struggling? I'm like, well, because anytime you're chasing what you really want, there's going to be difficult stuff. Like, there's nobody went from nothing to everything they wanted and said everything in between was great. There was no problems the whole time. Everything just went exactly how I planned. It was awesome. Like, that's not true. So it's in the moments that you're having the hardest time that you need the reminder to keep going. And everyone can say, like, keep on going, eventually it'll get there. But that isn't how I felt in those moments. It was like, yeah, it's fine. I'm just going to keep going. It felt like, fuck, dude, every step is a struggle. Like, everything I want to do is like, I have to fight myself to get up and do it. Like I said about waking up in the morning, having to do the countdown from 3 to like get yourself up out of bed, forcing myself to go. I even have a video that Dylan made in his Bunker to Bunker series of me going and doing those drills. And in the video, he's like, hey, tell me what's up or something like that. And I'm like, hey, my name's Scott, play for Fit. I'm here at Paintball Fit. It's like a Tuesday. It's really fucking hot. I don't want to be here at all, but I want to be better. I want to be a lot better. So here I am. It's like, do the things that are hard that like, that's also something I've constantly thought about and tried to preach as well, is it's not about not knowing what to do. Like, most people know what to do to get the results they want.
Yeah.
But it's about being willing to do it even when you don't feel like it anymore. Like, people get motivated, and then when they're not motivated, they don't do it. It's not about waiting for yourself to be motivated again. It's about doing it anyways. Do it when you're not motivated. Do it when you're upset. Do it when you're sad. Do it when you're like, all I want to do right now is sleep. Okay, well then get up and go for your run and then come back and go to sleep, or get up and go to your drills, or get up and, if you're doing a business thing, like, spend the money and invest that thing, learn how to do ads, whatever it is you're trying to do, learn it, do it, and then go do whatever you wanted to do right after.
That's almost the beauty in that keep struggling, is because it gets people like me and your parents like, hey, why? And then the beauty in it is you get to explain, and then it's like, oh, okay, like, I get it now.
Yes.
So I love that so much. Man, it seems like you eat, sleep, and breathe paintball, practically 24/7. What do you do to step away and unplug from the sport? That way, when you are back invested into it, you're giving it your 100%.
Yeah, I think a big part of that is definitely welts. Just having another creative outlet, something that's still semi-involved in paintball, but not focused about paintball the way I am 90% of the time, has been just a real relief, and something else to pour my emotion and my excitement and just like get excited about all the time, because we're constantly learning and changing. And like, obviously I've gone up the ranks in paintball, right, to where I'm at the top, and some people can end up getting complacent there. So having welts to remind me, like, I don't know shit. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I'm still like, sometimes we'll do a drop and half the items will sell out, but the other half that we thought were going to kill it didn't. Like, we got all these comments that it's going to do great, and I love that. That's so sick. Then you put it out, and it's like, okay, that didn't go the way I thought it was going to. That fell on its face. Like, what was it? And then you have to try again, and sometimes the second one fails too. Yeah. And then you're like, okay, so it wasn't this thing that I changed. It needs to be something else. So I don't want to change too much, but let's change this other thing now, And then that one finally goes, and you're like, okay, what was it? What was it on that one that's different? And then you start to pick up a couple things you changed and start testing them more, and learning that process and trying to figure that out. And also just listening to what customers are saying and trying to hear from them, like, what they really want, has been such an adjustment. Even at the very beginning, it was a lot of, I'm making stuff that I want. And don't get me wrong, I still love 99% of the stuff we put out there, but now I've learned to kind of lean more towards what other people are talking about, or things I see other people wearing, and that's something that took time to learn and took time to adjust to, of just, of just learning like what people wanted or how they even expressed what they wanted. Right. Cause it felt like they were saying they wanted this thing, and then when you put it out, it's not getting what you expected. Right. So then learning, okay, here's what they said. Here's what that means, you know, and just all that just kind of really took me away from paintball and took me away from that mindset, but also still keeps me in the mindset of wanting to get better and keeping me hungry, which does great when I come back to paintball, because I'm like, I know I don't know anything. Like, yes, maybe in paintball right now I'm doing good, but that reminds me that if I stop what I've been doing to be good in paintball, all of that will go away. You know, like if you're doing something every day, like say you're a salesperson, you call 10 people a day, every single day, and 1 month, 10 months in, 1 month, you fucking kill it. You just have a hell of a month, absolutely smash it. Then the next month, you're like, well, I don't have to do 10 calls a day anymore. Like, I got the clientele now. Like, I have the people. I'm good. I only need to do 5 calls a day. And then all of a sudden, like that next month, you do pretty good still. You're still killing it.
Yeah.
The month after that, it's a little bit less, but you're still killing it. Yeah. And all of a sudden, like, it starts to fall off. And the problem with that is you never see it coming.
Yeah.
Because it's just gradual. So you're like, oh, just a little bit. Oh, just a little bit. You know, I'll bump up the next month. I'll bump up the next month. And the next thing you know, you've lost it all.
Yeah.
So it's not about you're not great. Your habits might be great. Yeah. So I feel like that stepping away and doing the welt stuff really teaches me that and keeps me in that mindset of, you know, you're not any good at anything. Like you have good habits, or you have good steps that you've been taking recently. And if you want to keep doing that, you want to keep having those results, you need to keep doing those steps. So that's a big part of it, certainly, is welts. And then the other part is just spending time with my significant other. I got a wonderful girlfriend named Jade that I absolutely love. We've been spending lots of time together. She's got a couple kids that we spend time with sometimes as well.
Awesome.
Whether it's watching shows, going bowling, mini golf, going to the movies, you know, whatever it is, just something to kind of reignite my heart as well. That's something that I felt like I kind of lost for a little while there. But it's great to have someone there that just supports you and loves you no matter what, and always wants what's best for you, certainly. So those two things are definitely how I step back and reset from paintball.
Yeah. Oh, I love that, man. I mean, having a support system in paintball is so important. So it sounds like you've got a good one there.
Certainly.
And you know, it's funny, like as you were explaining about what you do to step away and you're talking about everything with your brand, I could clip this out and like put in how do you improve at paintball, and everything you said would translate, because it comes down to communicate, comes down to like try, get better, you know, do a little bit every single time. It's like you're using that same mindset both on the field and off the field. You're just tapping into that creative part of it, which is really cool. It's inspiring, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think that's the answer for everything. You know, I think people overcomplicate things, and that's why I feel like I also say this a lot, is it's not difficult, or no, it's not complicated. It's difficult.
Yeah.
Right. It's not some complex situation or complex problem that you need to solve. It's the basic stuff, doing it every day. You don't got to be extraordinary. You just got to do the ordinary extra.
Gosh, beautiful. And just like I thought going to this episode, you know, the whole theme of it is going to be hard work and everything that goes into it. And so I can't thank you enough for going deep into that, because I think so many people hear hard work, right? And like, oh, I go to the gym, and like, well, yeah, I'm there, but it's more than just stepping into the door. You've got to actually do the tangible thing. And so I think in this episode, you did a fantastic job by really explaining what that means for people. And I think this is going to be one of those episodes where a lot of players, pro and divisional, are going to resonate with your story and just the tips that you gave in it.
I appreciate that. I think that that advice really frustrated me when I was coming up the ranks. You know, it's like, hey, what do I need to do? Just keep working. Just keep working at it. Just keep working hard. And it's like, what does that mean? You know? And so hopefully this will help people a little bit with what that really means to keep working hard, is just doing your best to continue to learn and grow and adjust and take in whatever you're having happen, and really make those adjustments, make the course corrections, so to speak, to then continue back in the direction that you want to be. And everything will work out if you keep doing that. Yeah,
I love it. Well, hey, I've got a really cool way to end all of my episodes. I always ask the guest on the last week a question to leave for next week's guest without knowing who's going to be on. So it's a really cool way to tie in each and every guest. And, you know, sometimes it ties in players from different teams, or like industry leaders with players. And so last week I had on Dave Painter, he works for Major League Paintball, and he's also the owner of Upton 187 Crew, who's now coming back for a World Cup. It'll be crazy to see the 187 crew back.
Yes.
Without knowing you were going to be on, and this is a great question, I think, especially for you, who is the one person that has driven you to get to where you are now today?
One person. Oh, that's tough. I would probably say the person that's had the biggest push to get me to where I am today would probably be my father, my dad. Like I said at the beginning, like he was pushing me when I was really young, and he showed me a lot of people like motivational speakers before I was even really into listening to those kinds of things and really absorbing those messages correctly. And he really tried to help me absorb those messages. We had conversations about it. He encouraged me to work hard all the time. And then even after that, he encouraged me to do good things, but he never forced it on me. He never was like, I guess some people have dads or parents or family members that really make them do something and then they don't really want to do it, but they're just kind of being forced. So they're getting almost drug along in someone else's dream. He never did anything like that. He never forced me to do anything, but he encouraged me. And especially if he saw me doing the right things or saw me going down the right path, he always tried to encourage it. Like at some point I remember asking him to help me with training when I was in high school. I'm like, hey, I want you to like help me work out and make sure I'm in good shape for this football season or whatever. And he's like, all right, well, I'll be there, but I'm not going to come in your room and wake you up to be there. Like if you're going to be there, I'll be there. If you're going to do it, then I will tell you what to do, but I'm not going to force you to do it. I'm not going to check in on you and make sure you did it. Like you have to have the drive yourself. And in the moment, I didn't take a lot of those things in, but as I look back more and more, as I get further separated from those moments, I can see the work ethic and the beliefs that he was trying to instill in me, and just the understanding of how life was going to work. And he also did it through his actions. I mean, he tried for, I want to say it was like 6 years to be a teacher. And every time that he'd get really close, he'd be one more semester away because he was still working a full-time job, going to community college in the afternoons or evenings to try and get those classes done. When he would get, 1 semester away with the few classes he could take, they would add on 3 more classes that he had to get done, or add on a whole nother full-time semester that he would have to do in order to get that same degree. And it just kept happening, and he just kept pushing through it. And then, he didn't end up becoming a teacher at any point, but that was a big part of just him showing me that work ethic was a big thing of how to be. Even if it doesn't pan out, he learned so much and he gained so much and he felt good about what he was doing, what he was going for. And then he did it with other things as well. He was doing like an insurance thing where he was either selling or helping sell insurance with people. I mean, he's done a lot of things like that and just kind of chased his own dreams of how to have his family and how to believe and how to grow something. And, he got divorced with my mom, but then married somebody else. It's just this constant show of like, hey, like just because it doesn't go the way you want it first doesn't mean you can't keep going or that you can't get to where you want to be anyways. Maybe the teaching thing didn't work out, but it's not like he's sad now. He's retired, and him and my stepmom live in an RV and they travel the world, or travel the country, and they love it, so like he's constantly showed that. And then on top of that, he just constantly encouraged me every time I showed it myself. He never put me down. He never tried to make me feel bad or weird. And he always tried to make sure that I made my own decisions and that I wasn't letting other people influence me, even him. I remember I had to at one point beg him to like give me advice on something because he's like, well, I don't want to tell you, but I feel like you're not trying to think for yourself. You're just wanting my advice and you're just going to take it. Whatever I say, it doesn't matter. I'm like, no, like I know how to evaluate things. Like you've taught me how to do that. Like I just need somebody to give me some feedback so I can help myself be either, yeah, you're crazy and you can go down the path, or no, you're not crazy and you can go down this other path, or whatever you want,
Yeah.
So that's definitely a hard question, but I would say he's the one that's pushed me and helped me the most, even if in the moments when he did the pushing or the helping, I didn't realize it then. Sometimes it took me years to kind of really understand and take in those lessons.
Wow. Everything that you've just explained about your dad I've heard it from this episode about you and like how you are as a person and the way you think and you act. It all makes sense of where it all comes from now.
Yeah.
It's so cool to hear the full picture, the full circle there. Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for that answer. That was great.
Yeah.
Pressure is off for you. You get to leave a question for next week's guest without knowing who it is.
I would say, let's see.
And it could be anything
about working hard for sure.
So I kind of figured.
Yeah. I would ask, what's the hardest thing you've ever done that you didn't succeed at first, and then eventually we're able to get some sort of success in?
Incredible. That's a really great question. And if I can lock down this person, I think it's going to be a pretty good answer. I'll tell you off air who it is.
Yes, that sounds good to me.
Yeah. Scott, this is great. Before we sign off, do you have any like shout outs or anything you want to say before we wrap up?
I mean, shout out to all the Lucows, of course. Those guys took me under their wing and brought me out here. I mean, even from day one, just JD, when I became part of AC Dallas, like, hey, any shirts or things you want, start rocking the brand, and feeling like I was really part of the group. They were all about it. Colt and Johnny were always helping me out and giving me feedback anytime I asked. Trenton was someone that I kind of clicked with really quickly when I first joined the team. All those guys, everybody that's on the team currently, Chavi, Jacob, Jake, all those dudes love him. Cyrus as well. Can't forget anybody.
Yeah.
All those guys are great, and I want to give them all shout outs. On top of that, Hydra, great brand. Definitely support them, guys. They make everything we do at Fit possible for sure. So shout out to Hydra as well, Planet Eclipse, and then of course Verb. I think that's about it for me, man.
He's the man. Awesome. This has been probably one of my favorite episodes, and it's just been so cool to hear you go into your journey and really break down work. And like I said, I think this is one that's going to resonate with a lot of people. So I'm excited to hear what comes from it.
Heck yeah. I love the stuff you're doing, man. I appreciate you keep trying to push the envelope and try new things. I love that.
Yeah, same thing as you. We're just trying to leave our mark and grow this crazy little sport into something bigger and see where it goes.
I love that because I love how we all want to leave a mark and we're all choosing different ways to try and go about it, right? Like nobody's doing it exactly the same. And I just absolutely love that, like even though we're both wanting, or everyone, I would say a lot of people are trying to end up in a similar place. The path that you're taking to get there is so different. So like maybe you're going over some worn down paths, but then there's like this whole new path that you're creating at the same exact time.
It's all about that journey and what you learn from it.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Cool. Well, awesome. Everyone else tuning in to another episode of the Shellda Podcast, thank you for the support. I can't wait to share this one with you. And like I said, if I can get the next guest or two lined up, it's going to be really good to follow this one. So hopefully things line up here. So thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Shellda Podcast, and we'll catch you next time. See ya.